Know it all, or at least know enough. Calgary Today with Joe McFarland on 770 CHQR.
Congratulations going out to Chad, who is taking home that pair of tickets to go see All of Us, a ballet inspired by the Tragically Hip. That'll be happening at the Jubilee on June 14th. We will have another pair of tickets to give away tomorrow. In the meantime, now it is Wednesday, so everybody's favorite time of the week. It's Wine Wednesday, brought to you by Co-op Wine, Spirits, Beer. Make your holiday gift giving awesome by visiting any of their 29 locations in Calgary. It's holiday awesome, and it's only at Co-op. And it's, speaking of awesome, hi there. How are you doing?
Good, Joe. How are you doing?
Eric Southward is our guest for the usual wine testing. And of course, if you want to, check us out on Facebook Live as well. Hi there, Facebook Live. So it is holiday season. You got any big plans?
No, I just live at the store these days. If you need any help with anything booze related, we are there to help.
Let me guess, you are putting in extended hours, I'm assuming?
Yeah, it is a sprint to December 31st, absolutely.
And that's probably, is that one of the biggest and busiest times of the year would be between Christmas and New Year?
For us, just this time leading up to Christmas is the busiest for sure. And then there's a little lull before people start planning their New Year's Eve parties and need to stock up with that. That's a whole different beast. But right now, it's our busy season. Any holiday revolving around a big meal is go time for us. Absolutely.
I suppose that's one of the things too, is you get a chance to take a look at your stock post-Christmas after the relatives have stopped by, that kind of thing, and go, okay, we need to get that, and you can go to the store, or nobody drank anything, or you got gifts. So
yeah, absolutely. And people drink a little differently for New Year's than they do Christmas. Christmas is more, wine with a meal, and then New Year's Eve is party time. So a little more vodka, a little more spirits, things like that, hanging out at the door, cocktails, things like that.
Makes sense. When it comes to meals, I know in the last few weeks we have talked a little bit about meals, but let's give a little bit of a refresher here. And when it comes to going to pair things up, what's sort of a good rule of thumb?
Yeah, so number one thing is you want to worry about the weight of the dish that you're going to be eating. So lighter foods go with lighter wines, and heavier foods going with heavier wines. And the idea being you just don't want the food or the wine to overwhelm the other. Right. So if you serve a wine that's way too heavy for the food, well, all that work the cook did in the kitchen is just going to be overwhelmed by the wine. So, and vice versa. You don't want a wine that's too light and then you're serving it with something so heavy and then the wine is just flavorless, right? So weight is number one. I think we instinctively know what a light meal is, right? Soup, salads, maybe some lighter seafoods like oysters or shrimp or things like that. And then the heavier meals, right? Our prime rib, our sour cream mashed potatoes, gravy, all those big, heavy things are on the other extreme.
Is it a misconception that all whites are light and all reds are heavy?
Oh, absolutely. So you have light and heavy versions of both. Another big wine myth out there is that, you only serve red with meat and white with fish. I think that's been debunked quite a while ago. So we have some really lighter reds, like, made from grapes like Pinot Noir and Gamay that are just a home run with salmon or tuna or fish like that. And conversely, if you're not a fan of red wine, but you want something bigger and heavier, like Chardonnay is an option, a grape like Viognier, we call that the red wine lover's white wine. That's big and rich and heavy. Like that's an option too that you can have in your arsenal.
Is that something that is relatively new then, or has that always been the case, is that you've had different wines on the different spectrums, like the reds can be a wide range and a white can be wide range?
We've always had that. I just feel like there used to be all these
presumptuous
arcane rules about wine that really had no base in reality. And I think food and wine pairing isn't this hard and fast rule. It mostly happens through trial and error. People use different, everyone makes their sauce a little differently. Everyone, adds a special ingredient here or there. So you can't always say this wine will always go with X. So, that's the fun part about food and wine pairing is you got to try a little bit of this with a little bit of that. And I've have some colleagues that work in some really great restaurants in town. And they'll, call up and say, hey, we're struggling with this pairing. Like, do you have any ideas? It's not as, black and white as you might think. So don't freak out about having the exact right wine with dinner. Like, go with the general rule, know what you like. Oftentimes a good rule of thumb is just pair wine that you like with food with you. Like, that works too.
Is there a big item that when somebody comes into the store and says, I need some advice, is there one thing that they should come to you with, like in terms of like the one piece of advice or one piece of information that will kind of help you make the deal?
Oh,
or
man.
make the perfect pairing?
Yeah, I think not really. I would say if you have no idea and you're not getting any help, there's one style of wine that is kind of a sommelier's kind of crutch, and that's sparkling wine.
Right.
Like if you have no clue, this is a little kind of inside baseball, I guess you can say. But when I was taking my exams, there's a food and wine pairing portion to the exam, and we were only allowed to pick sparkling wine once during that exam because you can make a rationale. It goes with everything.
Right.
So sparkling wine is always a good default. We assume it's only, we pull it out for New Year's Eve and that's it. But it's got great acidity. It's really versatile. And if you have no idea what you're getting into in terms of a meal, what people are serving, just grab a bottle of bubbles and you're laughing.
If you had another misconception out there come this time of year, what would it be? Or a common misconception that you've heard?
I would say that I think people just always assume heavier wines are better. And I think heavier wines kind of can be quite crowd pleasing, but they can also be a little more bitter as well. So I always feel like, lighter wines are a little more versatile, a little safer. Sometimes people react to alcohol. Like if wines are really big in alcohol, that can kind of adversely affect how it performs with the meal as well. So again, grapes like Pinot Noir, Gamay, I've mentioned them a lot. And then on the white side, like a grape like a Riesling that people always assume is sweet, but you get these lovely dry styles that are really zippy and tangy. Those are going to make your food taste better. They're easy to like, and they're just a little safer.
Speaking of reds, we've got one in here now. Let's talk a little bit about it. It's from Argentina, of all places.
Yeah, so this is, I wanted to bring something. A lot of people do serve turkey, with Christmas, but if you're like me, our family's doing a leg of lamb. Some people do roasts, like beef roast and things like that. You need something bigger, right? So this is a Cabernet Sauvignon. Argentina, people mostly associate with Malbec,
right?
But there's this dirty little secret in the industry that actually Argentina does really great Cabernet as well. And so feel free to try them. This is the Las Clop Reserva, usually $29, goes on sale tomorrow at all Co-op locations for $20. It is big, it's rich, it's gonna go with any of those bigger cuts of meat. So if you guys are planning on doing something a little, away from the poultry or away from the salmon or what have you, this is gonna match up really well. And the temperature is going to drop closer to Christmas. This really suits our cold weather really well.
Anything in particular from Argentina that makes it stand out more than others?
Yeah, their climate, the wine region is uniquely right up against the Andes Mountains, so they're really high elevation, kind of like Calgary actually. It's just a little warmer there, and the wines just get really big, really bold. But because they're right up in that high elevation, the wines are kind of bright and fresh as well. This winery has just won a lot of awards because they make really balanced wines. They don't overdo it with the oak. Doesn't taste like you're drinking a 2x4, and they're really pretty, delicious, gulpable wines.
You have some really interesting comparisons that you bring in. Drinking a 2x4. Never heard that one before, but always learn something here on Wine Wednesday. Wine Wednesday is brought to you by Co-op Wine Spirits Beer, home to awesome wine selections for the festive season. It's holiday awesome, and it's only at Co-op. Eric Southward, as always, a pleasure. Not going to see you before Christmas, so Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and it's been a pleasure hanging out with you in 2018.
Absolutely. This is Calgary Today and Wine Wednesday.